We're here this afternoon with Bill Seubert, former Ellensburg Rodeo Board member, business owner, Ellensburg Hardware, or?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And very active community member that is going to answer some questions for us as part of our Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame Oral History Project. Bill, would you tell us your full name, birth date, and birthplace, and then tell us something about your ancestry, your mom and dad and their countries of origin and hometowns and that?
Well, you're asking about my background. I was born here in Ellensburg on January 3rd, 1940. I always tell everybody that was the first time that they didn't give out prizes for the first baby born because of the war, and then I'm reminded that the war didn't start till a little later than that.
You must not have been first.
Anyway, but my folks were from Idaho, farming and that type of thing. My mother was a nurse, and in the old days when they were first together, my mom would go, if somebody had an appendix or a broken leg or something, she'd go with the doctor out to the farm, and then they'd operate right there on the table, and then she'd stay there for a few days to see if the guy lived or died.
Where in Idaho was this?
Cottonwood.
Okay.
It's by Grangeville.
Camas Prairie.
Yeah, up on the prairie. And they, yeah, in fact, Dad was in the hardware business there. He worked for Haney Hardware, and they'd sell everything. They sold cars when they first came out. And Dad would go out with the guy and spend a couple of days with him and teach him to drive, because nobody knew how to drive and didn't know how to take care of the car. Anyway, kind of interesting.
Well, yeah. When did they come to Ellensburg?
They had their car broke down. They were in Seattle going back to Idaho, and their car broke down, and one of our relatives here had a hardware store, and his wife was sick, and so Mom stayed and took care of her, and Dad, as long as he was here, he started working in the hardware store to help out, and they liked it here and decided to stay.
So this was mid-30s?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Any siblings, Bill?
I have two daughters, Meg, who lives here, and Trish, my oldest daughter. She lives in Virginia, right out of Washington, D.C.
How about yourself? Any siblings?
I have a sister, an older sister. She also was a nurse.
Okay.
She's in Bellevue. Has 5 kids. Gosh, when rodeo time comes, her 5 kids and their extended families kind of descend on the Seubert household. And it is a zoo.
While they were growing up, I'm sure, but do they still?
Oh, still do. And they bring their kids. Yeah.
Not a treat.
Yeah. It's
Treat for them. I don't know how.
oh yeah. Well, we say where everything is.
Right. Yeah.
Doors open.
That happens a lot during Ellensburg rodeo time, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Everybody pretty well opens up their homes and makes things work.
Yeah, and then if you're involved in the rodeo, you're busy and
Yeah.
have obligations, but
Quite
as you
true.
said, you make yourself at home,
Yeah.
and you know where things are, and
Yeah.
people do. But, Bill, tell us a little bit about your childhood, young adulthood, and your marriage, and then a little bit about your spouse's ancestry or background.
Well, I grew up here in Ellensburg. I went to Lourdes Academy and then to the junior high and then to high school. Our class was the first one through the quote, quote, new high school.
Okay.
But after that, I I went to Seattle. I graduated out of Seattle University, business administration, and I worked for a few years at Boeing as a buyer, and it was kind of funny. One day, I was on my way to work, and I stopped at a stop sign, or a stoplight, and I was shaving and had a cup of coffee. And I looked over, and the guy next to me was doing the same thing. 2 days later, I'm stopped at the same stop sign, same guy, same deal, and I said, this isn't right. Life has got to be a little different than this. And so I came back and worked into the store.
Okay. So you would have been in your early 20s?
Yes. Anyway, I'm married to Mary McManamy, and her dad was county commissioner and a member of the rodeo board and a past president of the board. I kind of married into rodeo. It was kind of funny. I was chairman of the junior chamber, and we used to put on the kickoff breakfast. And it was towards the end of the breakfast, and I was kind of sitting catching my breath, and along comes Joe McManamy and his daughter Mary. She at the time was a teacher in Mercer Island, and she was a past rodeo queen. And her dad said, now we've got to go to the kickoff breakfast, and she went, anyway. So she had been a couple years behind me in school, and of course, being 2 years older, who's going to talk to somebody, you know? Yeah. Anyway, we hit it off and decided we'd go out that night, and things kind of progressed from there. Anyway, my youngest daughter, Meg, she's living here in Ellensburg, and my older daughter, Trish, she's past rodeo queen here in Ellensburg. And to show you how crazy rodeo can be, she and her husband go to a lot of the bucking bull events around the country. In fact, just last year, she got a couple bucking bulls. So she is now the proud owner of Daisy's Bucking Bulls. And they are now in training down in Texas.
Is there involvement in the bull riding circuit?
No. It's just for fun, and and she got a very generous offer from her husband, who said he would buy her a new diamond or some bucking bulls. And she said, I'll take the bucking bulls, and if they work out, I can buy my own diamond.
Well, that is quite
anyway.
I don't know what it is. Either a marketing idea that the PBR has, where folks buy shares of bulls, and I don't know if that's what Trish is doing.
It's not that. She just flat out bought them. In fact, she got them from Justin McKee.
Okay.
Anyway, so we'll see in a year if they're any good, or if they.
Yeah.
We got some hamburger.
Was your family, were they involved in the rodeo at all? Or your dad was a businessman in that sense, I suppose?
Not really. He'd take tickets every year.
Sure.
And
paint the window of the store.
Yeah. But he used to run the jitney dances at the fair. Okay. One of the people that participated in that. That's where they had all the good-looking girls, and you could buy a dance for a dime.
I was going to ask about
jitney
dances.
Yeah, that's what.
Form, so.
Anyway.
So How about you, before you met Mary or became a part of the,
Well, I was on the Chamber Cowboys, but
did they have the double-ended car then? Let me ask you that.
I don't recall that. We had something with the jail on the back of it for a while.
Got it.
But no, in fact, the first year we were married, Mary was at the rodeo and I was floating the river.
Okay.
But after that, I kind of got into the workings of the rodeo.
Bill, how did the Ellensburg rodeos that you knew as a young person differ from those of today? And what do you miss, and what are you glad to see?
Well, the Ellensburg rodeo and I missed they used to have stagecoach races, and since we've eliminated the track, I kind of miss the track events.
Sure.
But it has become a lot more professional. The participants, they train. It's a sport, and if you're not right there, you're nowhere.
Yeah, they're conditioned athletes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
As a result, it seems like the productions have become more.
A lot more professional.
Yeah.
You don't just get together and have a little family roping and throw a few bulls out. And now it's to the point where, Justin Boot Company has their own sports medicine van, and it's all up to date. You could almost operate on it, and it's special. And I know when it first started, we made a special effort as a board to get them here.
The Justin Sports.
And the Justin Sports people, and we kiss their tail because they are just great people. I know I for the most part had public relations was my basic deal on the board, and I know it was hard for a couple of years when I first brought it up that we should really have medical people on board. We always had the ambulance,
Sure.
But then I got together with Dr. Johnson, Dr. Hershey, and we said, listen, we need official arena doctors, and we want you guys to take turns, volunteer your time, and come up and be there on the grounds.
Now, was this pre-Justin Healer? It must have been.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But they did it even after we got Justin.
Okay.
We had local doctors. They volunteered eagerly to do that, and it was a nice gesture on their part.
As do the veterinarians. Don't
Yeah.
they?
Well, we always had McCrae, so
Yeah.
he was always there.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about the cowboys or cowgirls that you remember, Bill. What ones stand out in your mind?
Oh,
Featured acts?
there were just so many great people. Everybody kind of zeroes in on Larry Mahan because he was the first real star.
Okay, sure.
And when we'd go to conventions, we would ask the PRCA board, we need that. We need to develop some people that are stars, that everybody knows their name.
So the Ellensburg Rodeo Board
We,
saw that.
oh yeah, it was obvious that, you know, you could go to baseball or basketball or football and you knew some of the people. Rodeo, nobody knew anybody.
They were local
Yeah.
entities or
Correct.
known within the
Correct.
rodeo committee, but not nationwide.
Yeah.
No.
So anyway, we enthusiastically supported a concept where there were some superstars. Talking about Mahan, when we had a princess that broke her wrist during the grand entry, and we had her at the hospital. I had her, we had to fill out all the forms, and they said, "Oh, you better wait a little while because Mahan is coming in. He broke his leg." So, okay, we'll sign him in.
There you go. That must have been the year of the John Foster photo.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
running around the arena.
Yeah.
Funny side to that story, that injury took place on a Sunday. I can remember it because we were at the performance. Yeah. And I remember it even better because Monday of Labor Day, my sister was out at our place, and she was riding her horse towards the barn, and she'd always been told you never ride your horse in the barn. So before she got there, she bailed off dutifully and landed on her arm and broke it.
Oh.
And so anyway, I don't
She
know
get
if
to
Dad
share
was
a
on-
room?
Well, if Dad was on the board then or not, but anyway, no, Larry had been attended to
Yeah.
and had moved on, but the family encouraged her to write him a letter about sharing an injury that weekend, and I'll be darned if he didn't write a real thoughtful response
Yeah.
and send a photograph, but that's the kind of fella
Yes.
he was.
And he did that type of thing, and that's what the
Part of
sport
what-
needed.
Yeah, what developed
Yeah.
him into a superstar and what brought rodeo really into the modern era in terms of entertainment,
correct.
it seems like.
That's correct.
What specific regional Pacific Northwest competitors or contract acts do you remember best?
Well, we always, we for a long time had a really close relationship with the went blank.
King County Posse?
Well, yes, they, but I was thinking of the stock contractors.
Sure.
Christensen's,
Yeah,
Bobby and Bobby Sr.
yeah.
Just delightful people, and they always brought the top end of their stock, and it was always a good relationship. I can remember sitting with my father-in-law and Bobby Christensen Sr. and myself and a couple others. We were sitting on the creek there at Wilson Creek sharing a bottle of McNaughton's, and then along comes Harry Vold. What a gentleman, Harry Vold. It's just some things that you feel in your heart and your gut, and you love the guys, and you can't
had
really say.
A business relationship, but it was
Very,
more than that, wasn't
oh
it?
yes, it was personal,
Yeah.
personal. Anyway, Wick Peth,
Oh, sure.
he was local and Toppenish area,
Yeah,
and great clown,
yeah, world renowned.
yeah.
Ward Hobbs,
Yeah.
local cutting horse.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bosky boy. is-
Bosky boy, a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
And some people, you either like that type of thing or you don't. But almost everybody in the stand loved that horse.
That's right.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
they look forward to it.
That's one of the things I miss too, I think, with not having the track.
Yeah.
Track events, like you said, whether it's the races or the.
Yeah, well, it's the way it goes.
That's right.
Were you around when they used to have the grandstands built into the side of the hill?
They came back around more, but I don't recall them being built
Oh.
into the hill.
Yeah, they used to be.
On either side of where the trail comes down?
Well,
or-
the trail didn't used to come that way. It used to come straight down. And right there were bleachers.
Okay.
Yeah, they were just on the dirt.
Yeah. I've got a specific question for you, maybe you can
Yes.
answer. Troy Miner and I saw Chariot the other day, and we got to reminiscing and started talking about the old bull chariot.
Yeah.
And we thought, my golly, where did that thing ever go? How come we didn't have, we don't have it? And we speculated it was about when the bullfight came in and where that was the end of the performance. How did we lose that? Let me ask you that, Bill.
It got to a point where the clowns didn't want to do it.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, it was just flat dangerous.
Yes. It wasn't a crate chickening out. It was.
No, it was a number of things, but I think basically the guys said, "Hey,
We're contracting to
Yeah,
fight bulls, not
right,
to
right.
risk our lives on this
Yeah.
deal." That makes sense.
So
It sure was
that
a
kind of
good
went
thing.
by the. There were some exciting deals with that. But if that bull turned around and rammed you against the chutes or something, I mean, there was no place for you to go.
You were pretty exposed.
Yeah.
Did you ever ride in it?
Yes, but not with a bull.
Okay, good idea. What other Ellensburg rodeo stories do you have, or ideas or thoughts you'd like to share?
Oh, golly. There's so many things that happen and events. I remember one time we went to a Big Four meeting in Walla Walla. And the night before that happened to be a rigadoon dance, and that's a formal dance club here. Anyway, there were about 5 of us at this thing, and we stayed out much, much, much too late. Anyway, we decided that we just wear our tuxes. So we get to Walla Walla, and about that time, the Pendleton board, who are noted for being dressed very classy, they come piling out of their bus. We get out of our van in our tuxes, and of course Ken McCrae, who's always understated and straight, he looks at him and says, "You boys are a little underdressed, aren't you?" Anyway, they weren't quite ready for us. But yeah, a lot of good times. You know, one thing was kind of, I took Mr. Goldade's place, Paul Goldade's place on the board when he retired. And he was interested in Western art. He and Joe Schwab and Lucille Rowan and Darwin Goody and Jink Stringham, they had this idea they were going to put on this Western art show. And so we thought that would be just a perfect addition to the rodeo weekend. And so the rodeo board offered to, help out with advertising and all that. And I was appointed the person to attend their meetings. So I was on the, all of a sudden I'm on the art board and I don't know anything about art. But anyway, after the second year, we realized that that puppy had a life of its own. And rather than help us during that weekend, it took all the rooms too,
Sure.
And so they moved to a different weekend. But that's kind of,
That's how the Western Art Show.
well,
started,
we
probably.
we didn't start it, but we certainly encouraged
Sure,
it.
sure. Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Bill, any closing words or?
Not really. The thing about rodeo and the people involved in it, they all still live by that old code of the West thing. And it may sound hokey, but most of them are just flat honest, they're hardworking, and they help their neighbor. And that's not a bad way to live.
It's real, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you're familiar with the piece or not. A fellow by the name, I think his first name is James, Owens is his last name. Anyway, he was a former Wall Street broker, and he recently developed the idea and actually wrote a book called The Code of the West.
Oh, really?
It talks
Yeah.
about that very
Yeah.
thing, that's something that our society could sure benefit from, especially
Yeah.
some of the Wall Street folks.
Yeah.
And these are
Might-
his words.
Yeah, it might be a little foreign to them, but
That idea of camaraderie, taking care of your people,
Yep.
honesty, commitment is a part of the cowboy way.
You bet.
They seem to live it,
you bet.
you know. Well, Mr. Seubert, thank you. It's been a treat for
Well, thank you.
us to